Thank you for joining JTV News. I'm Peter Gay Coombs. In the news, amendments to Cruising Permit Act stir hot debate in the House.
Now you have catamarans competing with the villa rentals, competing with persons who are renting their apartments, competing with the hotels, the Marias, the Castle Marias of the BVI, the moorings. It's wrong.
All is not well between taxi and livery operators.
The livery, I believe, and I could put my foot on this, I'm pretty sure that they went by the law. Their job is to advise the minister of the law and the policies and procedures that guide the transportation industry. And I know he knew.
Wake up call, young and old urged to take stock of lifestyle disease killers.
Heart disease due to hypertension is our #1 leading cause of mortality in the BVI.
Stop the crime. Concert aims to rally BVI landers to take a stand and choose reason over rage.
Crime is definitely a no-no. It's not the answer to any one of your problems.
There are more than one ways to solve issues. And if we keep communities safe, we keep Virgin Islands safe.
The big story, the government wants to increase cruising permit fees, but the concerns run deeper than that. We'll find out what they are. In Caribbean news, politicians in the Cayman Islands played a Game of Thrones this week, but finally agreed on who would form the post-general election coalition. Above normal season predicted as we enter the first month of the 2017 hurricane season. And the West Indies cricket team are now known as, you guessed it, simply the Windies. In our Medical Minute segment, treating urinary tract infections, Dr. Geronimo Jones tells us more in our Mayo Clinic Medical Minute. JTV News starts right now.
This is us. This is how we work. This is how we play. This is how we live. This is us. This is how we flow.
Welcome back to JTV News. The debate on the Cruising Permit Amendment Act 2017 in the House of Assembly on May 29 did not center only on whether the government had the courage and was justified in increasing the 27-year-old fees for Virgin Islands-based and non-Virgin Islands-based yachts. Legislators such as Junior Minister of Trade and 8th District Representative Marlon Penn also took issue with the yachts and Airbnb listings providing accommodations to visitors, which he argued allowed them to unfairly compete with local hotels and villas that are compliant with the regulations and associated fees.
So I'm scrolling through Airbnb and I said, let me just look up the BVI. And here I see boats being advertised as rooms. There's no mention of cruising permits. There's no mention of accommodation tax. There's no mention of none of these things. So they're using these sites to circumvent the regime. And their concerns were the resorts around here are actually pushing them out of that industry. They're telling them that they can't pick up passengers from their hotels or from their resorts. And subsequently, I've seen those resorts apply for charter license, charter companies to rent charter boats. And I've told the Premier that I'm not supporting that type of activity. It's unfair. There are many properties locally, in addition, and that's I need to mention this point, who are also being advertised on Airbnb, who I know for a fact don't have permission to rent, nor do they have trade licenses to rent.
Minister Penn says the agencies responsible for executing the regulations and collecting the fees on the books must be strengthened in order to do their jobs effectively.
I came in this house some time ago when we did the cyber crime bill, and I mentioned that we need cyber soldiers, and everybody laughed. But it's a serious issue. A lot of the things that are happening now are happening on the internet, happening on the web. So we need to be equipped, our officers need to be equipped to be able to tackle the issues that we're facing on the web.
Another issue which featured prominently in the House of Assembly during the debate of the Cruising Permit Amendment Act was that of guaranteeing jobs for locals. Several lawmakers voiced their support for legislation to be brought to the House to ensure that protection of jobs for belongers is enshrined in law. One of them, opposition leader Andrew Foy, says the marine industry is the BVI's next gold mine, but employment for belongers must be protected at all costs, as too often he receives calls from persons, including some who have degrees, who are unable to get jobs.
There's something about every country where you have to put your citizens first. It is the only way that your economy gonna survive. But Madam Speaker, we seem to have come to the point in this House where we are afraid to put legislation in place to protect our people. This industry, the cruising permit here is not the problem. Most of our people, as far as I know, Madam Speaker, work hard to get their boats, but there are those who just think that once you have a boat, you're a crook, criminal, and a thief and running drugs. I don't want to hear the Nancy story that our people don't want to work. I don't want to hear it. Whether it is marine or otherwise, I don't want to hear it. Looking at the couple fellows who might be on the corner not doing anything and saying, and generalizing us, I don't want to hear it.
Mr. Foy was supported by 9th District Representative Dr. Hubert O'Neill in suggesting that the recently passed environmental levy of $10 be repealed and included in the cruising permit fee, as it would be a more efficient revenue-generating scheme.
Bringing it in now with the other taxes what on will cause some contention. But I feel, Madam Speaker, that we can increase this amount and repeal that environmental one that was going to be put on them when they're coming in. Because, Madam Speaker, I see you'll have more effect and we will get more revenue through this angle. We have to ask ourselves if we're not taxing ourselves out of the industry.
I kind of tend to agree too with the leader of opposition in that maybe we can combine these several fees, because you know when you're traveling and you're being nitpicked for every little thing here and there, I think it's if it's all combined into one fee, it may be to our advantage. We would actually collect more.
In backing Mr. Foy's proposal for protection of jobs for locals, Junior Trade Minister Marlon Penn points out that operations such as Airbnb and Amazon are a threat to the viability of businesses in the British Virgin Islands, and the new Consumer Protection Act and review of the trade and investment regulations are part of efforts to earmark specific jobs for Virgin Islanders, especially if they're qualified to do so.
We are in the process from a trade point of view, where by July, there's going to be a draft consumer protection legislation that will be going to cabinet. There's a revised trade act that's coming forward, and an investment policy, which will subsequently lead to a new investment legislative framework, and protected from some of the same activities that we're seeing on Airbnb. That was part of our investment discussion, or trade discussion. The issue of Amazon and its impact on the local storefront. How do we help to protect the local businesses from the rise in online shopping?
Your health is your wealth. Take care of it. Practice healthy behaviors. Eat healthy, diet and exercise. These are all familiar phrases we hear often, not just from health personnel. There is a major reason why these messages are constantly being preached. Kathy Richards has the facts.
A non-communicable disease, NCD, is a medical condition or disease that is not caused by infectious agents. NCDs can refer to chronic diseases which last for long periods of time and progress slowly. NCDs are said to be the leading cause of death globally. Cancer, diabetes, osteoporosis, hypertension, Alzheimer's, heart disease, fibromyalgia. Because of these diseases, there has been high-level meetings of medical heads from around the world, like the UN 2013 Agenda for Sustainable Development, which aims at reducing premature death from NCDs by 1/3 by 2030. Now, there's a serious reason why locally health and other professionals are toiling with a number of strategies to deal with the prevalence of NCDs in the British Virgin Islands.
Regionally, that includes us, we have quite a task because we know that 36% of, there are three in every 4 deaths are NCD related. 36% of NCD deaths are occurring at less than 70, and for those of us who are closer to that age, we're getting very worried. And the Caribbean has the highest prevalence and mortality from non-communicable diseases in the region of the Americas. 78% of all of our deaths are from non-communicable diseases.
Dr. Joan Samuel was at the time addressing various stakeholders at the Health in All Policy meeting on May 31, where she also highlighted that the number 1 cause of death in the BVI is an NCD.
Heart disease due to hypertension is our number 1 leading cause of mortality in the BVI and has remained so since 2012. And 51% of the total deaths are caused by NCDs. And in 2009, the risk factor survey showed that 69% of persons in that survey had elevated blood pressure, were not on treatment, and had some risk for developing non-developing chronic disease. At the BVI HSA, we have an increasing number of dialysis chairs. Our youngest person on dialysis is in the teens.
What is an even bigger concern is the fact that there is a rapid continuous rise of non-communicable diseases among youths in this territory.
We are seeing more and more children at younger and younger ages, secondary school, with issues with weight and elevated blood pressures. At the Health Services Authority, we are seeing more persons who are presenting at younger and younger ages, 35, 30s, late 20s, with heart disease requiring intervention.
Persons of all ages are urged to pay keen attention to their health by adopting healthy lifestyle behaviors. For JTV News, Kathy Richards.
When we think of crime, emotions of hurt, anger, and hate arise in us. But to hush those harsh feelings and to promote a more suave way of fighting crime in our territory, a group of community-minded persons have come up with a tactful event, one that is geared at bringing the entire BVI together in one voice to say, "Stop the crime." Here are the organizers, Eustace Boss Freeman and Carvin Malone of the Lions Club of Tortola.
We needed a concert like this. You know, we believe that music is one of the tools that we could use to reach individuals who may be committing crime in the territory. And it's a crossroad we're reaching right now where we need to carve and influence, have positive influence on the wide BVI.
When we met with the police commissioner, he embraced the idea that the community and the community organizations can get together so that together we can not only raise a child, but we can protect the communities that we have.
It's a totally free concert. You know, it's happening at the Prayer Park on June 16th, beginning at 6 p.m. But we're starting things off with a march. We're going to have a march from the Road Town roundabout, and we're going down through Road Town. You know, we're going to take everybody into town so that we could be in the faces of everyone. We need everyone to not only just see us, but come along and support us, you know, because it's really something that we're doing. It's being put on by us for us. You know, we're trying to be proactive rather than reactive. So it's a great thing. We have several artists. We have poets. We have inspirational speakers. We have bands. So it's going to be an awesome time out on the pier.
The sales of T-shirts, we would be asking the public to assist in terms of purchasing T-shirts at $15. The difference that we have, 2 specific reasons have been identified. Number 1, to assist in giving a donation to the police commissioner or the police department in the purchase of surveillance cameras to be hoisted in the most vulnerable areas that do not currently have cameras, number one. Number two, we also want to have a community program where we can look in terms of conflict resolutions. How do we get to the persons? Because we cannot continue to preach to the choir and baptize the choir every other Sunday. We have to go out into the communities, and how do we reach these persons?
If it's something that we're gonna have to do annually to keep, reassuring to the public that crime is definitely a no-no, is not the answer to any one of your problems.
If you were to list those, not only the names of the unsolved crimes or solved murders, but if you were to list all those persons who have died as a result of crime, then you would see that the list is way too long.
Yeah.
Too many persons.
Taxi and livery operators are key to the tourism industry here in the BVI, but all is not well. Here's more in this Kathy Richards report.
There's an issue with the taxi and livery services with these same charter yachts, where passengers come in and at the terminals, they're not regularized as to what form of transportation that they're really entitled to. And there's a fight at the ports of entry. We need to have the minister responsible for the Taxi and Livery Commission address it one way or the other.
That fight, alluded to by Honorable Julian Fraser in the House of Assembly on May 29, is one that is set to be causing a stir in the taxi and livery industry here in the British Virgin Islands.
The law is clear. The law is clear. Those operators can do their business as long as the company they're representing collect the customers that are going to utilize their facility, such as the moorings or sun sail. When a customer books a charter boat, he pays for that boat before he gets there. Before he actually gets on the plane, he already paid for his vacation on that boat. The company, Sunsail or whoever it is, collects their money. So they know they're guaranteed that boat when they get here. What they don't do, and what they used to do, was also issue transportation voucher, which means they also used to collect them as well. To get away from the liability and the security issue of having to be responsible for those customers on the transportation end, they stop issuing voucher and stop collecting those people's money. The law addressed that. The law clearly says those people who are coming to those establishments, they are freelance. They're individuals who book a boat, fly on a plane, get to a destination, is expecting to get in a taxi to get to their destination.
Mr. Julio Sam Henry was not the only taxi driver who expressed concerns on this matter, but others have opted to give the responsible minister more time to once and for all deal with the matter before they go public. But according to Mr. Henry, this is not the first, second, or third time this matter has been brought to the attention of the Minister for Communications and Work, Mark Vanterpool.
This issue has been brought up to the Minister of Communication and Work, Mark Vanterpool, time after time after time after time. As recent as just a few weeks ago, the minister had a meeting with Sebastian and other tour operators, the Livery Commission, I believe the two people in charge, to discuss the same issue.
Henry insists that he has no personal issues with the minister, but it's time the matter be dealt with once and for all.
Sam will always be the one to speak out because everybody is afraid for whatever reason. I have no problem with Mr. Minister, none. The fact of the facts, he is the minister in charge. He is the minister in government. He is responsible. I can't talk about somebody else when they're not the person involved. And my disclaimer is I do not have a tour operator business that do shuttling for any of the charter companies or hotels or anything like that. I don't have any. So I don't have any vested interest in airport or West End or Rotong. But I'm a taxi operator.
For JTV News, Kathy Richards.
Our newsroom did make efforts to secure a response on this matter from Minister of Works and Communication Mark Vanterpool, his permanent secretary, and the Director of Taxi and Livery, to no avail. Still to come on JTV News in the big story. The Charter Yacht Society gives their side of the story regarding amendments to the Cruising Permit Fees Act. But first, other news making headlines in the Caribbean.
Here in the Virgin Islands, we are blessed to live and work in paradise. Paradise just doesn't mean our tranquil blue waters and green hills. National Bank of the Virgin Islands defines paradise as any place or condition that fulfills your aspirations.
To me, paradise means knowing that I will have a financing partner when I'm ready to open my first business.
I feel confident that I can manage whatever life throws my way because I know my bank will be with me every step of the way.
That's why I choose National Bank of the Virgin Islands, the official bank of paradise.
My future's looking so bright, 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 with the official bank of paradise, dice, 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 paradise.
National Bank of the Virgin Islands, the official bank of paradise.
The 2017 hurricane season, which began on June 1 and ends on November 30th, is predicted to be another above normal season. The National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration, NOAA, is forecasting a 45% chance of an above normal season, a 35% chance of a near normal season, and only a 20% chance of a below normal season. They are also predicting a 70% likelihood of 11 to 17 named storms with winds of 39 miles per hour or higher, of which 5 to 9 could become hurricanes with winds of 74 miles per hour or higher, including 2 to 4 major hurricanes. NOAA says its predictions reflect a weak or non-existent El Niño, which typically suppresses the development of hurricanes. Meanwhile, the Department of Atmospheric Science at Colorado State University is anticipating a near-average probability for major hurricanes making landfall along the United States coastline and in the Caribbean. The 2016 hurricane season was the most active since 2012, with 15 named storms including 7 hurricanes and 4 major hurricanes. In what resembled a game of political musical chairs, Caymanians and onlookers watched as the Premier of the last government, Alden McLaughlin, and opposition leader McKeever Bush jostled with each other to seek the favor of independents to form a coalition government in the political dust-up after the May 24 general elections. Though at one point it seemed as if McKeever Bush was about to stage a comeback as Premier, it was not meant to be, and in the end, after 3 previous deals, Alden McLaughlin of the People's Progressive Movement (PPM) would hold on to the office as Premier of the Cayman Islands. McLaughlin and Bush, as well as 3 independent candidates, Austin Harris, Tara Rivers, and Dwayne Seymour, have joined forces for a government of national unity in which Bush will serve as Speaker of the Legislative Assembly. McLaughlin's PPM won 7 of the 19 seats, Bush's CDP 3 and Independents 9, but failed to secure an outright majority. All 19 members of the House were sworn in on May 31. And finally, for those of you who are cricket fans, this may or may not be good news. The once dominant, now struggling West Indies cricket is being rebranded. The West Indies cricket team will now be referred to as simply the Windies, nothing new really, while its board is now known as Cricket West Indies. Board President Dave Cameron says the new name is more inclusive and appropriate. Coming up next on JTV News, the big story, what's all the fuss about amendments to the Cruising Permit Act? The Charter Yacht Society will tell us.
This is us. This is how we work. This is how we play. This is how we live. This is how we flow.
If you're looking for extra savings and free benefits
with car insurance
and
home insurance,
Colonial has just the cover you need.
there's a free $250 gift voucher for new home insurance customers too. And 10% car insurance discount if you have home insurance.
With a claim service that's quick and friendly.
We call it cover without added costs.
Call for a quote on 494-8450 or Virgin Gorda 495-6403 or visit cgigroup.com.
Colonial, where people come first.
Welcome to TAA. We provide 24-hour roadside assistance on Tortola. We help provide freedom and peace of mind to our members throughout the island. TAA has you covered for all kinds of roadside problems, from minor mechanical first aid to helping you change your tire. TAA provides access to an impressive and ever-expanding range of innovative and reliable services that allow you to drive with confidence. Membership starts at just $99 per year. TAA offers exceptional emergency roadside service and repair. Contact us today to find out how you can become a member. Becoming a member is simple and easy. Apply online today at taaroadside.com. Tortola Automobile Association. Safety on the road.
Welcome back to JTV News. In this week's big story, the government wants to increase cruising permit fees, but the concerns go much deeper than that. The Charter Yacht Society's Janet Oliver joins Kathy Richards and I for that discourse. You may have heard about the Cruising Permit Amendment Act, which has sparked hot debate in and outside of the House this week. The bill tabled by Premier and Minister in charge of Tourism, Dr. D. Orlando Smith, seeks to implement broad-reaching changes to the charter yacht industry. These include an increase in fees, but the Yachting Society of the BVI has concerns not just about the fees, but other changes that are to be implemented via this bill. And to help us understand what exactly those concerns are, we have joining us, that's Kathy Richards and I, its Executive Director, Janet Oliver. Welcome, Janet.
Thank you. It's a pleasure to be here.
Tell us about the makeup of the yachting sector briefly, especially as it pertains to the different types of charter yacht. There are crude and there are bareboats. Just break it down for us in a nutshell.
The charter yacht industry brings in $250 million a year to the BVI economy. So it's a significant, brings in a significant amount of money. First, you have day sailors. Those are, I liken those to tour buses. So they go out from one particular location, they take their guests out for the day, and then they bring them back at the end of the day. Then we have charter boat, the bareboats. Bareboats are just that, bare. Everything you add, everything you want on the boat, you add to the boat. So you add your provisions. If you need a skipper, you would add a skipper. If you want someone to cook for the week and give the wife the week off, then you would add a cook to the boat. Your water toys are added to the boat. So those are bare boats, and they make up about probably about 750 to 800 of the I would say we have 900 to 1,000 boats here in the charter boats in the BVI.
Let's cut to the Charter Yacht Society's concerns regarding these fees that are to come on stream. It's in the winter season, it's going up from $2 to $6 for BVI-based charter boats.
That's correct.
And from $4 year-round to $16 in winter season for non-BVI-based charter boats. The government says that it's not only to raise revenue, but to raise revenue to keep the industry top of the line and to protect the environment, and this is being done after 41 years of being the same rates. What exactly are the concerns of the yachting sector with the increase in particular?
Well, let me say that the yachting sector that is based here in general is not opposed to the fee increase. We understand 40 years is a long time, and we hope it isn't another 40 years before the fees increase again. So it's not so much the fee increase that's going to impact us, but encompassed in that $250 million is money that's brought in from the foreign charter boats. So they are going to bear the brunt of the increase. And so really our stance was, if it was done over the course of a couple of years, it would give them an opportunity to adjust their fees accordingly, because that will be a large increase. And some charters are already booked, and that means that that yacht will have to absorb that fee, because unlike the bareboat industry, the guests pay for the bareboat industry, but in the crude yacht industry, it's absorbed by the yacht.
One other thing that is coming up in that sector of it is that they're looking at having across the board fee, where not only persons who have registered here pay a lower rate at the out of season time, as opposed to the others who pay right through one fee, and that seems to be some concerns as well.
I think, our industry, here in the BVI, whether you're in the hotel industry or the yachting industry, tends to have 2 seasons. And I think that fees should reflect that. We really would like to see our season extended, and anything that we can do to ensure that more people come here into the low season, so that restaurants don't end up closing during the down season because they don't have visitors.
Tell us about some of the other fees that are applicable, which make this hike so onerous. Some of the legislators have even gone as far as suggesting that these fees be merged, as is done in other destinations. Example, merging the environmental levy, which is the common stream, with the cruising permit fees, because that's not just more efficient, but it will bring in more revenue for the government. Do you agree with that?
I think for many years we've been talking about one fee or combining some fees, because the yachting sector does pay a fee here, a fee there, a radio license, a ship's license. They pay a fee to the shipping registry. They pay a fee, trade licenses, work permits. There are a lot of fees to pay, and I think that we should entertain ideas of maybe compiling some of the fees. But the environmental levy, the environmental levy fee has its own challenges when it comes to how to pay if you are coming into the territory with guests aboard. Because if someone is flying into the territory on a plane or coming in by ferry, that fee is going to be captured in their ticket. But it's not so if you are coming across on a charter boat.
Would the society have any recommendations, if they have discussed this, regarding how to capture that money when it comes to the yachting industry?
We need to have a place at the port of entry, really. Very similar to the cruising permit, paying the cruising permit tax.
There is one big concern with your industry as it relates to the name home base. That seems to be one of the root concerns of you guys. Explain how that works and why it would have a serious effect on you.
Sure. The definition of a home-based vessel has deemed to be registered in the British Virgin Islands, home-ported in the British Virgin Islands, and having its charter originate in the British Virgin Islands. That is the definition that they want to insert into this legislation. Well, being registered in the Virgin Islands means that you fly the flag, and that many of the charter boats that are based here do not necessarily fly the BVI flag. They, in many cases, are American flagged, and that is because in some cases, if you have a loan for your vessel, they don't want you flagging in another country. And in other instances, it's just simply because it's very easy for them, and it is there's a very nominal fee, and it's a quick process. It can be done online. So, and many of the charter boats here are owned by Americans. So they aren't necessarily registered here, and that's a good proportion of the charter boats. So if we apply this definition, then we say to these boats, you are no longer deemed to be home-based unless you change your flag or you leave. You know, that's a choice that they have to make, because they won't. A home-based vessel can pick up unlimited charters in the British Virgin Islands. A foreign-based, because they're either going to be home-based or foreign-based, a foreign-based is only allowed to pick up up to 7 charters
per year.
per year. So you can't have a charter boat in your fleet and limit it to 7 charters picking up in the BVI. So that is a big concern, because it requires almost immediate action on the
Some feel that if that should happen, what will happen is that the business that the BVI enjoys right now is going to be shifted most likely to St. Thomas, which would in essence boost their industry, which has been in the gutters for quite some years now.
They are coming out of a 20-year dip in the charter industry, and they are looking to get it back. It would be up to each individual owner how they deal with the legislation and whether they choose to register here. It is a much more I'm not going to say difficult, but there is a process to registering here, and it's not one that happens overnight. And so, and it is, and can be costly. For an American, you have to form a company, because you can't fly the flag without being a British citizen or a BV Islander. So that is, then you have to form a company, and then the company owns the boat, and then you can have the flag on your vessel. So it's a little bit more complicated.
Has the society discussed this one in depth, and does it have any recommendations, if the government is willing to listen, as to how best to go about this definition to keep those yachts here and have more coming in?
Right. We have discussed it with them, and we did submit a position paper on the recommended amendments to the legislation. I think our stance would be that if a yacht is, a charter boat, a bareboat, for example, is working underneath the umbrella of a BVI licensed company, and that company is, has a trade license, and their employees have work permits, or, they pay their taxes, and so it seems that that yacht that is operating underneath it should, and all the expenses associated with that vessel are put into the economy here. Anything that needs to be done on that vessel is done through the BVI labor force. Then that should be what defines a boat, is that there is a trade license. It has been approved by trade, in other words. If there has been approval by trade for that yacht to operate here, then I think the flag should be a non-issue.
Peter, you brought up the issue of communication. I would want to ask you, how is the level of communication between your industry and the government of the British Virgin Islands? Because I know, for instance, the BVI Chamber of Association, they have these issues where they complain that there's not enough communication, or in a timely manner, before legislations are put together and brought to the House. How is that communications level with you in this instance?
I like to think that we have good communication with them. We have been a part of many discussions with the various departments with which we interact. The yachting sector crosses a lot of different departments, from customs to shipping registry, and a number of other departments. So I like to think that we have a good rapport with them. We feel comfortable approaching them and telling them our concerns. I would have liked there to have been more discussion about the ramifications of this particular amendment before it actually made it this far.
So any response yet since that meeting and that letter to the government?
We did not have a response.
All right, now one or two of the issues that were brought up during the debate in the House regarding this issue is that of jobs, and jobs being taken away from BVI landers, especially in the marine sector, with one legislator even going as far as saying that maybe jobs in the marine sector should just be limited to BVI landers. Is it true that foreigners are taking jobs that BVI landers can very well handle? And two, do you agree with this proposal that ideally these jobs should probably be limited to BVI landers?
Well, I think it's important to remember that the marine sector is very wide, And we tend to look at it as the captain and chef are the marine sector, and they're not. The marine sector is really all of the ancillary businesses that help keep that boat afloat. Because without them, and that we are the charter capital of the world, because we have probably the best infrastructure in place for the charter industry. And so we tend to look at those faces and think that there isn't local representation. But there are a lot of businesses which have been founded on the industry. And those, and they're doing very well. There's no risk, there isn't any desire to choose one group over another. But first and foremost, the industry is a service-oriented industry. Yes, you need to have a captain's license, and you need to have a cuisine background. This is for the crude yacht sector, by the way. You have to have those qualifications. But you have to love people. That is a requirement. And I think if we're sitting here, if I asked each one of us, would you like to get up first thing in the morning before anybody else, prepare a full course breakfast, have your coffee with a stranger, spend your day all day long picking up towels, telling people, doing 3 meals a day, taking them back and forth between the boat and ashore, and they come in and they've got sand all over, and you're sweeping the sand off the boat.
Away from family, possibly.
Being away from family for at least a week. And when on the crude yachts, the insurance requires that there be someone on the boat all the time. So unless that boat is on the hard, that boat must have someone on board, because those are $5 million investments, so they need to be taken care of. That has to be a love that one has. So that has to be your passion first. Then water has to be your passion, and then you need the qualifications. So it takes. It's not. I'll give you this example. I invited the culinary students to a mini boat show. There are 10 kids in the graduating class. 3 of them showed up. 3 of them had an interest in going on board the boats and speaking with the chefs and seeing the accommodations. 1 of them said to me in the end, "I'm interested." The crew were very clear about what the job entails, and it's not all about cooking. It's cleaning the heads, doing the beds, whatever it takes to make that person's vacation the vacation of a lifetime. I talk about the crude yacht industry because that one is, we pay significantly more than anybody else to operate a vessel here in the BVI, because you have trade licenses, you have work permits, you have NHI, you have Social Security, you have taxes. Those are all things that our neighbors do not pay. They don't pay into systems like that. So a vessel that is here and feels that the expenses are just too much for them, and we have had owner-operators who have decided that it's actually too much. But the yachting industry is interesting because it's mobile, and they are going to go where they feel that they are, they're making the most of their investment.
My last question to you: do you think all of this, if it should go forward as it is right now, has the potential of removing the BVI from its premier spot as one of the #1 destination in the Caribbean or world?
$250 million is a lot of money. And as I said before, our neighbors, when they lost it back in the 90s, they were bemoaning the fact that they lost a $100 million industry. And now they talk about, when they changed their legislation to accommodate vessels which take on more passengers, they were cheering at the prospects of being able to capture some of the industry back. Oh, I say some of. I'm sure they'd like to capture a lot of it. But I think it's important that we really safeguard it, because we have a wonderful layout of land here. Yes, the grounds are fabulous for sailing, but we can't take for granted that people will always pay.
That's it for the big story this week. Remember to check us out on YouTube, Facebook, and jtvlive.net. And up next in our Medical Minute, what you should do if you think you have symptoms of a urinary tract infection. Dr. Geronimo Jones is next with the Mayo Clinic Medical Report.
Eureka, located in the British Virgin Islands. Come, discover Eureka Medical Clinic, which provides the most complete medical services in the Virgin Islands. Our state-of-the-art clinic offers the highest quality in specialty care, cardiology, gastroenterology, orthopedics, and spinal surgery. We also offer specialty care in obstetrics and gynecology, as well as dermatology. Eureka Medical Clinic offers diagnostic procedures such as x-rays, mammograms, CAT scans, and all forms of ultrasound exams. Now, for the first time in the BVI, Eureka offers MRI scanning too. With colonoscopy and gastroscopy, we check the intestines and stomach for polyps, colon cancer, and ulcers too. Located at Geneva Place in the heart of Road Town, Eureka Medical Clinic with Medicare Pharmacy and Labs offers you a comprehensive medical facility all under one roof. So for high-quality medical services and convenience, there's no need to look any further. Eureka, you found it.
You win the lottery? Yep, even better. I'm an investor. I insured my vehicle with Premier Insurance Limited. What's that? That insurance company, correction. My insurance company. We are multifaceted. Vehicle breaks down, we provide roadside assistance. We do it all. We make handling of these matters easy for our clientele. From vehicle rental, to parts at below cost, to body work and maintenance. We do it all. Captain, where you going?
I gotta change my insurance. I want to be an investor too.
Quality services and better benefits. Shares available to policyholders after 3 years. 0 deductible for third party. Free roadside assistance with policy. Discounts for government employees. Special rates for drivers under 23 and older. For more information, contact Premier Insurance Limited at 284-495-6800 or stop by our office located at the Sunday Morning Row, Chevelle Center, for a policy that's easy to swallow.
UTIs are very common. The U.S. Department of Health and Human Services reports that UTIs are responsible for 8.1 million trips to the healthcare providers each year. All adults and children are susceptible to UTIs, but women are at a greater risk. Symptoms vary from the severity of infection and include pain when urinating, abdominal discomfort, and fever. In this Mayo Clinic Minute, reporter Vivian Williams talks to the Mayo Clinic expert about what to do if you suspect you have a urinary tract infection.
Cranberry juice. Many people reach for it to treat urinary tract infection or UTI symptoms such as painful urination and frequency.
And if it's getting better, then they're doing the right things. When it's not, when it's progressing to them noticing blood in their urine, if they're getting fever, if they're getting some low back pain.
Then, says Mayo Clinic family medicine specialist Dr. Summer Allen, it's time to see a healthcare provider to determine if you need antibiotics, which are the first line of treatment for UTIs. The type of antibiotic you take depends on the type of bacteria found in your urine. And Dr. Allen says the most common culprits are
the E. coli, bacteria.
Anyone can get a UTI, but women are at highest risk. If you develop symptoms that won't go away, see your healthcare provider for evaluation and treatment to prevent a serious infection. For the Mayo Clinic News Network, I'm Vivian Williams.
Before we go, a brief look at the main headlines. Opposition leader Andrew Foy leads lawmakers calling for legislation to guarantee employment for belongers, starting with the marine sector, while Junior Minister of Trade and Investment Marlon Penn appeals for the playing field to be leveled so that yachts and Airbnb listings, advertising accommodations can be regulated as hotels and villas are. taxi and delivery players headed for a possible showdown over deferral of regulations applicable to delivery operators. Stop the Crime rally and concert planned for Tortola Pier Park on June 16 aims to unify residents against crime while raising funds for surveillance cameras for the RVIPF. The big story, Charter Yacht Society says amendments to the Cruising Permit Act, including fee hikes, could result in fallout for the sector and wider economy. In regional news, after much wheeling and dealing, the party which governed Cayman during the last administration has joined forces with the opposition and independents to form the country's first ever coalition government. Above normal activity predicted for the 2017 hurricane period, with 11 to 17 possible storms and 2 to 4 major hurricanes. And the unofficial name of the West Indies cricket team is now their official name, the Windies. And just a reminder that you can find all the news stories featured in this newscast, as well as previous newscasts, on our website, jtvlive.net. Additional information and news updates can be found on our Facebook page, facebook.com/jtv55. If you haven't already, please visit our Facebook page to let us know that you like us. Of course, all our news features, press conferences, and JTV's television programs can be found on our JTV News YouTube channel. Subscribe for daily uploads. We welcome your questions and comments and story ideas. Email us at jtvnews@hotmail.com. On behalf of the entire production team, I'm Peter Gay Coombs. Thank you for watching.